السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان لكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد إن أصدق حديث كتاب الله عز وجل وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر أمور محدثاتها وكل محدث في الإسلام بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. All praise due to Allah. We praise Him and we extol Him. It was in the finest of salutations, like Muhammad ibn Abdullah, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. As what follows, my dear Salam Iman. Today, I would like to speak about adversity, trials, tribulations, from an Islamic perspective. Wallahi tawfiq. With Allah lies our success. Because simply after watching what took place this week on Capitol Hill in America, many of us have noticed and witnessed those homegrown white domestic terrorists storm the White House and carry out those atrocities. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. And many of us have developed a misperception of that whole fiasco, what took place on that day, in those hours. So looking at that situation as believers, looking at that situation unfold, we need to understand that everything is not as it seems to be. Everything that we see with our naked eye is not always as it appears to be. Remember who controls the media. Remember who is in control of the media outlets in this part of the world. So as we all know, as human beings, we all perceive things differently. We all have a different perspective. We all have a different point of view. We all have different ways of visualizing things. On the other hand, there is the correct, or you say sahih, correct point of view, the Islamic point of view, the correct Islamic perspective. So when you look at this word, perspective, linguistically meaning, it is, when we dissect this word, we see that perspectives originated from the Latin word. This word perspective originated from Latin, meaning to look through. The way you look through something, or you perceive or see something. From the Latin, meaning that this noun of looking and having a perception of something, it means, it refers to an attitude. An attitude. The way our attitude has been formed or conceptualized regarding something. So then we develop a certain viewpoint of that thing. That's a perception. So with that said, I want to remind us as Muslimun, as Mu'minun, as Ibadallah, as worshippers of Allah, that we should realize that not everything that we see with our naked eye is as it appears to be. Because most importantly, we have to understand that for Allah, there's a great hikmah in everything. We see things, and the majority of the time, especially watching things unfold on television or on social media, they play the same clips over and over again so as to put a vision into our minds. So as to put something into our minds. So we as Muslimun, as Mu'minun, as Ibadallah, we should not get caught up in the narrative, everything that we see or hear on social media. So when we look at things as Muslimun, as Mu'minun, as Ibadallah, we have to look at things with the light of Iman. We have to look at things through the lens, through the perspective of Iman. We don't look and become caught up in the narrative or the social narrative or what people are talking about. We don't get swayed by what's posted on social media, what we see with our naked eye on the televisions. La. As believers, We believe in the qadr of Allah, the qada wa qadr. This is what we believe in. We do not believe in those things that take place on social media. We do not believe in those things. We have to recognize as believers that the qadr of Allah is khair wa shar. Linguistically, the good and the bad thereof. We believe and we accept the qada wa qadr, the good and the bad thereof. As believers, we examine things with the light of Iman. And Allah Azza wa Jal had said regarding this in Surah Hijrah, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ الْآيَاتٍ لِلْمُتَوَسِّمِينَ. That verily in things that take place or unfold are signs for those people who reflect. This means that only those who choose to ponder over situations without becoming overwhelmed or judgmental over those particular situations. And we look at things not with the physical eye, but with the eye of Iman. So using our spiritual insight, Allah Azza wa Jal will bless us. We do not become judgmental and we do not get caught up in the narratives of those things that we see with our naked eye. But, as Mujahid said regarding the phrase, lil mutawassimin, it is referring to those people who have insight. وَابْنَا جَعَلَ مِنْهُمْ لِمَعْمِينَ. Allah make us of those mutawassimin who see things through the eyes of Iman, with that spiritual insight, with sensitivity regarding what we see. We don't look at things face value. We're not that shallow. Believers are not shallow to the point that we see things face value or what is printed or posted. La. Whatever is happening around us, whatever we see on television or on social media, we say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We don't get caught up in the narrative as believers. We analyze things and we keep our opinions to ourselves. And we know that لَنَا الْحِكْمَةِ الْبَالِغَةِ. Allah has a great hikmah in everything that He does. So we don't have to get caught up in the narrative and start speaking about whatever we see. The main thing is as Muslimun, as mu'minun, as ibadullah, that we should remain steadfast in our deen, regardless of what's taking place in our lives or around us or on social media that we see with our neighbors on Capitol Hill. We say, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. We don't start to talk and tell everybody about why it's happening and what we see. Because Allah knows what's really going on. We should be steadfast and patient during these times of adversity. During this particular pandemic, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, I've gained so many levels of insight personally. And I've been able to have sit-downs and discussions, FaceTime, on phone with Muslims who have become so depressed. I've had discussions with Muslims discussing and contemplating suicide, having suicidal thoughts. Well, alhamd, I've talked to Muslims who are saying that they are feeling hopelessly in depression. And I praise Allah, alhamdulillah, that I was able to discuss with them and make them understand and realize, by the permission of Allah, that that is not a permissible state to be in on several occasions. And I praise Allah for the ability to do that. But on the other hand, I've had discussions with many Muslims, with Muslim families, husbands, wives, fighting, with Muslim families that have lost their children to the dunya. I have had discussions with Muslim families who have said that they have lost hope with Allah. They said that this Allah caused this thing to happen, so now they have totally lost faith in Allah, completely left the deen. Murtad. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So the first thing that I want to remind us is that we need to control our thought patterns as believers, as Muslimun, as mu'minun, as ibadallah. We need to control our thoughts. We cannot allow our thoughts to run wild. La. So I want to remind us that Allah Ta'ala, He's constantly scanning our thoughts from our hearts. He's constantly scanning the outpourings of our hearts. Ya ikhwa wa akhawat, dear brothers and sisters. So whenever we feel those thoughts coming to us, say la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. A'udhu billahi min shaitan rajim. Wasta'iz billah. Allah says, when we get those thoughts from the shaitan, fasta'iz billah, Allah says, seek refuge in Allah. I'm going to remind what Allah says regarding our thoughts in Surah Al-Imran, verse number 29 to 31. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. قُلْ إِن تُخْفُوا مَا فِي صُدُورِكُمْ أَوْ تُبْدُوهُ يَعْلَمُهُ اللَّهُ وَيَعْلَمُ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ يَوْمَ تَجِدُ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا عَمِلَتْ مِنْ خَيْرٍ مُحْضَرَةٍ وما عملت من سوء تودوا لو أن بينها وبينه عبدا بعيدا ويحذركم الله نفسه والله رؤوف بالعباد. Allah starts these sets of ayats by saying, قُل, say, whatever we hide within ourselves or we reveal it, Allah knows full well what's really going on. Whatever we hide or try to hide within ourselves or reveal, Allah knows full well the real meaning of what's going on. He knows what is hidden in the heavens and in the earth. And Allah is able, fully capable of doing all things. On the day, kullu nafsin. When you look at the translation, it's every person. Allah says, every soul, Allah is speaking to the soul, on the day, kullu nafsin, will be confronted with the good that we have done and the evil that we have done. And we will wish that there was a great distance between us and the evil we have done. It starts from our thoughts, our feelings, in deep down inside of us. What are we thinking about? Or who are we trying to fool by saying things which we don't really mean? We need to start by being honest with ourselves. Allah, He said, وَيُحَذِرْكُمُ اللَّهُ نَفْسَهُ وَاللَّهُ رَؤُوفٌ بِالْعِبَادِ. Allahu Akbar. And Allah warns you against Himself. And Allah is full aware of His ibad. Ya ibadallah. Ya ikhwata fillah. Oh my brothers and sisters, wa akhawat fillah. We should never despair from the mercy of Allah. We should never ever despair of the mercy of Allah Ta'ala. We don't want to become in that state where we lose hope in Allah's mercy. We don't want to be the person who has these reckless, suicidal, depressive thoughts and feelings and inclinations. Find someone to talk to. Find somebody to talk to. There's many professionals in our community. We don't have to bottle these things up. Allah ra'uf bil ibad. Allahu Akbar. Allah is full of kindness for His worshippers. This is the point, my dear brothers and iman, that we have to stick to the ibadah of Allah. Regardless of what's happening in our families, in our communities, in the world, we have to stick to the ibadah of Allah, Ta'ala. Because this is a test. Whatever's going on is a test of what we see, what we hear, what we're experiencing. Following this verse, Allah, He brings the verse that the Salaf used to call Ayat al-Imtihan. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فاتبعوني يحبكم الله ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم والله غفور رحيم. قل أطيعوا الله ورسوله إن تولوا فإن الله لا يحب الكافرين. Allah Azza wa Jal, following those sets of verses regarding our inside, He tells us what is the makhraj min al-fitin, what is the way out of all adversity. If we really love Allah, say to them, O Muhammad, tell the believers, if you really love Allah, follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. How was he in adversity? What did he do? He didn't experience adversity. He experienced. He was a prophet. They beat him. They threw stones at him. They called him names. They ridiculed him. And he was the one who called him to La ilaha illallah. Allah said we should follow him. If we really love Allah, we should never turn our backs on Allah. We should never turn our backs on Allah. How? By leaving the salah is the first thing. We should, فَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, Allah says. Seek help with Allah through sabr, endurance, patience, and prayer. Allah says, if we really love Allah, then follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Allah will love us. And Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. Allah says, قُولْ أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولُهُ. Again, obey Allah and His Messenger, unconditional. فِإِن تَوَلَّوْا. If we willingly choose to turn away, Allah does not love the disbelievers. So under no circumstance should we turn our backs to Islam. No matter what happens, we have experienced loss of life, wealth. We've experienced so many things in this small span of time. But this is a test. If we can endure these small things, then what's to say about when bigger things come our way? We should know that things are not always as it seems in our naked eye. Allah has bigger and better things on the horizon for us. When we look at things with our spiritual eyes, the eyes of perception and deep insight, we know that Allah has a great hikmah. A great hikmah. But we just have to be patient. So we need to have an Islamic perspective to things. We need to look at things through the eyes of Islam and know that Allah has everything understood in the Qadar al-Qadr. Things are written as Luh al-Mahfuz, in this preserved tablet. Things have been written. So we can't fight against the Qadr of Allah. If we're here, we're alive, we're well, and know that Allah Ta'ala has brought us here. And He kept us here. And we have the limbs, we have the ability, we have water, let's make wudu. We don't have water, we make tayammum. But we have to continue our ibadah. Wallahu ra'ufa bil ibadah. Allah is merciful to His servants, His slaves. Let us continue to be ibadallah, worshippers of Allah Ta'ala. May Allah bless us and our families and keep us steadfast on the ibadah of Allah Ta'ala. Amin, amin. Bismillah, salatu salam, ala Rasulullah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man tabi'ahu. Huda wa ba'd. Last week, I mentioned a very important and vital hadith, especially for us living in this time. It's in hadith sahih, and I would like to expound upon it briefly today, inshallah. La tawfiq. This hadith is Sahih Muslim. That's where the Shu'aib reported that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ajiba li amri mu'min, in amruhu kulluhu khair, wa laysa dhalik li ahadin illa lil mu'min. In asabatu sarran, shakran, wa kana khairan lah. In asabathu dharran, sabra, wa kana khairan lah." The Prophet said, wondrous, or it's a strange, extremely, extraordinarily strange affair is that of the believer. Or it's a bizarre state. The believer is a strangely bizarre individual. Concerning his situation, the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has stated that everything for the believer is excellent. Ajbi amra mu'min. Everything for this individual, the believer, is excellent. If something happens that he is happy about, he gives thanks and praise to Allah. That is good for the believer. And if something happens to the believer that he is not very pleased with, he is patient. The person, the believer, is patient. And that is khair. It's good for the believer. So we have to know, my dear brother Salam Iman, that life is something which is going to continuously unfold, but we have to be patient. From this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is expounding to us and explaining the state that we should strive to be in. We should be striving for this state of self-actualization, of what is the meaning of our existence here on earth? What are we doing here? Are we just here to watch things and to fret about everything? La. We have to first be in a state of self-actualization of the qadr of Allah. The qada wa qadr. Khair wa shar. This is a part of our foundation of our iman. That we believe in this. The qada wa qadr of Allah. These things are not in our control. This is a mystery. The qadr of Allah is a mystery. And we should not try and figure it out. We accept it. And when things happen that we are pleased with, we praise Allah. We don't smile about our own achievements. Then this is me, I figured it out, I'm Mr. Smart Guy. La. We praise Allah. We thank Allah. We always thank Allah. This is what we do. This is our stance. We give the thanks and the praise to Allah Ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ has alluded in this hadith the level, the darajat of the believer. We have to strive for this level of obedience to Allah Ta'ala. As believers, we feel deep down inside of our souls that Allah Ta'ala causes things to happen for a variety of reasons that are out of our mind's eye to conceptualize. But when we strive for self-actualization, to be a better human being, to strive from being a Muslim, to be a mu'min, to be ibadallah, when we're on that process, Allah is going to put us through tests and trials. The Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, if Allah loves His servant, He gives him tests. Another narration, the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, إِذَا حَبَّ اللَّهُ الْعَبْدِ يُصِيبْ مِنْهُ. When Allah loves His slave, He puts him through trials. He puts him through tribulations. So we have to understand that some tests are meant as an elevation test to raise us up in status and nearness to Allah Ta'ala. It's how we look at it. As I mentioned, we shouldn't be in a habit of complaining. This is the attitude of the munafiq. That every little thing that happens to them, they complain. They whine and they complain. La. The believers, this is not our stance. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. This is our stance. When things happen that are out of our control, we say la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Instead, we return back to Allah. As I mentioned at the beginning of our khutbah today, everything that we see, we don't have to believe it. Everything that we hear, we don't have to listen to it. Take time and pray. Open the kitab of Allah. Read some Quran. Do not have to follow all the things that are going on and have something to say about it. What do we say? Allah is reminding us that we should turn back to Him in repentance. Allah is reminding us in Akhir Ahl Imran, Ya ladhina aminu, asbiru, wa sabiru, wa rabitu, wa taqallah, la'alakum tuflihun. All who believe, have the patience and more endurance and steadfastness, wa rabitu, wa taqallah. Tie all of this together with the taqwa of Allah so that perhaps we'll be successful. May Allah bless all of us and help us to be of those who look at things with the eye of Iman. In other words, protect us and bless our families, protect our families, keep us steadfast on the sabil al-rashad. Amin, amin, amin. Inna Allah wa malaikatu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Sallu ala اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم انك حميد مجيد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنه وفي الاخره وقنا عذاب النار.